My name is Donna Gonzalez. I am a jiu-jitsu, women's self-defense, and empowerment coach. I think the world is a better place when badass women are doing badass things. One of my favorite quotes is, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." I couldn't agree more. So, I'm talking to the misbehaved ones. I hope you like it. Bonnie, thank you so much for meeting with me today. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm good.
I've been a fan of yours for a while because we had a mutual friend and we became friends, and I've been able to follow your career. But why don't you tell everybody at home what you do, and I'll start asking you questions about it.
I am a touring keyboard exhibit A. So I'm a pianist, I'm a keyboard. My job is I play keys for a bunch of different a lot of pop, kind of more into the pop world right now, and have been for a while. I started out in rock band, but my job is to play keys and tour the world, and it's pretty fucking great. Am I allowed to
You
cuss?
are absolutely allowed to cuss.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll start the conversation off with this. There is a post that you made one day that lives rent-free in my head. Do you remember making this post? No, it's amazing. So apparently you were on a plane and a woman next to you was chatting it up with you and asked you what you did, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm a musician." And I guess she tried to cut you down a little bit, and she's, "Oh yeah, I used to be a starving musician." And your response was, "Who said I was starving?" I don't know what the kids are calling it these days, but that's a clap back. And like, when I think of you, I'm like, that's Bonnie.
I say that that's actually happened to me a couple of times, because when you tell someone, it's like, "Oh, what do you do for a job?" Or, "What do you do?" And you say, "I'm a musician," and they're like, "Oh, cool. What do you do for a job? Like, what pays your rent?" And that, even to this, I'm 38 years old, and I still get that. They still look at me like, "Oh, there, you poor little artist."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, you're on a plane, cute." And I'm like, it's just kind of funny. And it's not just me. Like, this is something that we always talk about, all like my peers and stuff. Like, we always laugh about it because, I know being a musician in the way where it pays your bills and it's your bread and butter. It's the job. I mean, you've known me for a really long time. It's the only job I've ever had as an adult, really. And I'm super, super lucky to do that. And I do know that I am in the 1% of people who are able to, their whole living, their whole livelihood, comes from music. Every dollar I make is, something music related. And so I do understand why that's like a reaction that people have. But when you work your ass off for so long, you're just like, I finally fucking here. I'm on a plane. I'm in business class, but the artist is flying me out to wherever show we're playing. And I believe I was with Selena Gomez at the time. So I was with like the most famous person at that time. And I mean, she kind of still is. And it just was like baffled to me because I kept getting treated like that. So yeah, that's a clapback I still use.
I'm telling you, it lives rent-free in my head. When you say that you're classically trained, so anybody who's going to go to your website, which is beautiful, by the way, you're a classically trained musician. Does that mean like we're trained in classical music? Like when people, what is it?
So that's exactly what it is. When I was about 5 years old, I started taking piano lessons. According to my parents, I like begged them for piano lessons because I think I just wanted to play like the song from The Lion King and a song for Little Mermaid. That was my goal. Really, that was it. And I was like 5 or 6 years old at the time. And my mom got me a tiny little keyboard and got me private piano lessons. And my piano teacher, her name's Dill Warstadt, she's the only piano teacher I had. She taught me for like almost 15 years. She was a classical pianist. So that's how I learned. So I learned how to read music at a super young age. I learned how to I learned about theory, and I learned about all like the really traditional way that most people learn piano, right? I didn't know what a synthesizer was. None of that was even in my brain. So all I knew was classical. So that's what in. But I was always like a rock kid at heart. My favorite band's been Rage Against the Machine since I was 12 years old. So just like I was also into that, I was going to I was like, I'm like emo millennial, fucking side bangs, Hot Topic all the way. So it's like during the day, I'm practicing classical music. At night, I'm at Soma in San Diego going to the, seeing my other friends play in bands. And I just remember being like, I want to play in a band. But all I did was classical music. Okay, whatever. So because I had trained in classical, towards the end of high school, my teacher was like, all right, so you're thinking about college. Here are the music schools that I think you can get in. She's like, you could get into a Juilliard. You could get into an Oberlin. You could get into all these schools. But I think you'll quit music if you do. And I was like, why? It's a weird thing for her to say to me, because she went to Juilliard.
Okay.
And so she was like, I'm going to be really honest with you. She was like, I think you are going to hate music. I think you should move to LA and be in a band. She's like, and I was like, whoa, what? To be fair, for full context, I was also an athlete. Okay. So I was trying to get recruited. I was deciding whether I was going to do music or sports. And I had an opportunity in Los Angeles to do both. So I got recruited by Cal State Los Angeles. I was for soccer, not for, they did have a music program. So I was in a classical program at Cal State LA. That was what she told me to do. And she was absolutely right. And I came to LA and started a band. And I think maybe I've even seen my back in the day, like years ago. And that band started at Cal State LA, Black Party Politics.
I was going to say it's Black something. Black Party Politics.
Yeah,
yes.
Black Party Politics. And so we started at Cal State LA, and our first practice space was breaking into the classical music hall, and I was playing on the 9-foot grand that I would do my recitals in, and we would just drag a drum kit, and we had full band practice in the theater of the Cal State LA. Super illegal. Cops caught us all the time, but they were
guys
like,
again.
Okay, they're like, oh my God. And then there was a time where they're like, we actually have to arrest you because you keep doing this. And I was really, okay, maybe we should actually find a real practice space. But
why
anyways,
there? Did you need the keyboard, the piano?
Yeah, I didn't have, I had a piano in my dorm and but I was also in, which was really weird because it's very rare you have an athlete and a music major because they're both just super time consuming things. So I didn't a music setup or anything because I'm living in like the athlete soccer house. So eventually I was able to get a key, but it was for my classical practice. It wasn't like to play shows. So I would basically roll out the big grand piano that was in that hall. It was probably like a $70,000 piano, and I would that was what I practiced on.
I love this.
And to be fair, I was a classical pianist, so it was all I really knew how to do. I didn't know anything. Now I have all these synthesizers. We can get into that part of my job, but all I knew was piano at the time, so that's what I did.
That is so amazing, impressive, just the dream, right? That's why people come to LA, is to follow their dream of getting into entertainment, and like you did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's two things. You probably know this, but maybe somebody at home doesn't. Learning a musical instrument and doing a sport at the same time actually make you better at both.
Wait, you said that? Is that a real
It is a real thing. The only reason I know this is because I'm a jiu-jitsu coach now. And I have had so many conversations with parents, and I've had to look up things myself, that it creates, I'm probably going to fuck it up or whatever, but in very roughly put, it creates better or deeper brain synapses connections. Doing something physically.
That kind of made sense.
So I think because I had maybe some overachiever kids in my program, and I learned this, a lot of parents will put kids in sports and languages at the same time because of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you were actually making yourself better at both by doing that.
That's interesting. I will say one thing that I know being an athlete absolutely translated into my career. Like once I started being in a band, when you're playing classical piano, you're postured, sitting like this. That's all you do. And when I got into a band and got to like performing on my internet, and anyone who's ever seen me play knows I jump around like an absolute psychopath on stage. The hair flips, go the nine. But, when I first started out, all I knew was like sitting at a piano playing classical music. So as I was in a band and I got a taste of being on stage, I would just go nuts. Our band was so like active. I was like, oh my God, this is like a sport. Because if you're doing like a 2.5-hour show and you're in a band, you might as well be playing a 90-minute soccer game. Like
in an arena like you do.
Yeah, that's because there's so much room, so you have so much ground to cover.
So what was your first tour with Black Party Politics?
So my first tour, actually, this is super random. So when I was in Black Party, that was my passion project. That was our passion project. Everyone in the band we actually put all of our money into the project, and the project never took off in the way that we wanted. So we never really made anything financially. So while I eventually went to Musicians Institute, and while I was there, I was like, my peers were getting picked up by tours and like getting these jobs. And I was like, oh, like this is a real thing that I could actually, like, if I had so much to learn. I was green as fuck. I knew absolutely nothing. I was like, okay, well, I need to find something that'll pay me. So my first tour I ever did was, I don't know if no one will probably remember this band, but it's a band called the Red Elvises. They're a Russian rockabilly band from the 90s.
Shut up.
They're all about the same age as my parents. They were the sweetest, absolute sweetest guys. And I did that tour. We were staying in Motel 6s. I was getting paid like $700 a week. We were like sharing rooms, our bandmates. And at the time, I was like, oh,
you're doing it.
Dream.
Yeah.
I'm getting.
Are you kidding? That sounds amazing to me.
Like, what? Even before that, I was touring with Black Party Politics very locally in like Vegas, like just Arizona, everything kind of relatively close. But, we weren't making money like personally. So it's like when I did the Red Elvis tour, that was my very first thing I ever did touring wise and I came like obsessed with it. And I just was like, this is like the funnest thing ever. And we were in a van staying in Motel 6s, and I was like, this is the dream.
Why? What is it? Tell us what it's like. And obviously when you're doing the big stadium tours, like we can imagine why that's addicting. But what is it about touring that makes you love it?
So I will say that there are a lot of musicians and a lot of artists, and a lot of artists have been more recently talking about this, is not everyone enjoys it. And everyone has to do it because it's the easiest way to make money now with streaming and all of that. I fucking love it. I think it's so much fun, and like I love waking up in a new city every day. I've been traveling. I don't know how many times I've been around the globe. I stopped counting after 4. So like I know it's more than that. Like that's how much I've been able to travel. And I get to for me, like that's the dream. I'm in like a new place every day. I'm such an extrovert too. So when I'm moving on a bus with 12 people, I love sleeping in a bunk, the top bunk. I sleep in a top bunk, which most people avoid, but I liked getting rocked to sleep. I just love everything about it. And I bet it's kind of grungy, even on the ones. Yeah. Like, I toured with Post Malone for a year and a half. But even the big ones, you're still with 12 people on a bus. You're still sharing and space, and you kind of build the sense of community, whether you like each other or not. You do. I've been really lucky to have that, and it's just get this new family. You figure it out. You're building a show from the ground up that millions and millions of people are going to see nowadays with the internet, and it's just so, something that I feel like a lot of people don't really know, like it's hard to kind of understand, is that when you get hired for a tour, you're you're a blank canvas. Like the show doesn't exist. No matter how big the artist is, you get hired, you're building this humongous concert, and it's big production. I've done productions with 120 people on crew. I've done productions with 10 people on crew. It's just, there's so much involved in it, and then getting to be a part of the final product, like a band member or even like a dancer or the artist, is just like such a big payoff. And there is a lot of downsides to you're away from your family for a really long time. Relationships can get and some people want their alone time and are in places where you can't get it if you're stuck on a bus for 3 days. So there are a lot of downsides to it. But for me, the show part of it is so much fun. And I love it so much that it's like, no matter what, I do that, and I like cleanses my soul. And I just became addicted to it. And some people kind of are. And as long as my body will allow me to, I don't really plan on stopping.
Hell yeah.
Anytime soon.
What is the biggest show you've ever played?
Brazil.
Brazil? With what artist?
Post Malone. Easy. That show is my favorite show we've ever done. It's actually, that is second to, okay, I have to actually 2 answers to that. You know, you'll understand why once I tell you. So the reason why I loved the Brazil show so much is it was, oh my God, I think it was like 150,000 people. It was in the 6 digits for sure. A lot of people. And it was raining. It was pouring rain. It was like out of the movie, and we didn't have an overhang. So what that usually means is usually a lot of like festival, big, huge stages will have at least an overhang, but this one didn't. And we have so much fire in our shows that it's just like enormous. It was just enormous. So after he starts doing his first song, the rain starts pouring down. And I think we actually didn't start yet when the rain started. And normally in the US, people start to leave. God, these, like, we just saw ponchos go on, nobody being moved. And the whole place was just like absolutely packed. And we did this, like, we did our full 2.5 hour show. And the crazy thing about that was our crew was like, hey, it's raining. That means be really careful. Your instruments could short. We have backup plan. So if keys just short and go out and they just don't work, they can like turn on the track and kind of cover. So we knew that was most likely going to happen, especially with my instrument, because it's like,
and then if water's coming onto it, there's no way to protect it.
Yeah, and there was one board I had to be careful with because I didn't want to get electrocuted, but nothing happened. It was kind of like weird. I was like, scientifically, this should not be working right now. But it worked throughout the whole show. It was an excellent show. I think it's still on YouTube.
I want to look that up.
Post Malone, The Town, I think, was the festival, and it was in 2023. It was excellent. And that was great. But the other show that we did that is absolutely insane was that we actually performed at the Louvre in Paris.
Oh, I remember you making that post. Yes.
People. Yeah. There's actually a framed photo of it somewhere in my apartment. Yeah. So we're the only band to ever play there.
How is that possible?
I don't know how it happened. It was so funny. We get this whole, we get an email from management or our tour manager that's like, hey, so we have a show. Like, obviously, don't tell anyone. It's not released. It's not announced. It's at the Louvre. These are at this time we're on retainer. So like wherever we have shows, we just go. I was in Germany at the time. I wasn't even home, and I just have to get on a plane wherever I am. So they were like, okay, we have this show in Paris. I just thought it was a one-off show. And then we see it's like the Louvre. And we're like, wait, what? How's that? This has to be like a typo. Like, how is that? They don't do shows at the Louvre.
Yeah.
What? And they were like, yeah, it's because it was a pre-Olympic kind of thing that they were doing because the Olympics were in Paris that year. And so Visa, I guess, sponsored a show. I think it was maybe a promotional thing. I'm actually not really sure. I didn't ask a whole lot of questions. I was like, the Louvre, fucking let's do it. So we performed there, and in that show, moment in the show where I'm doing a ballad with Post, and it's just me and him for the first like 2.5 minutes of the song, and I'm like, my face is like on like the big screen, and it's just me and him. It's my favorite moment of our show. I played that song with him like hundreds of times at this point. And there was a moment where I was playing it and it was just me, and I was like looking around and I was like, oh shit. Because you could just see, I was like, God, we're in the Louvre. This is crazy. Yeah. And then the band, and you kind of forget. I'm not gonna lie. When you're on stage, everything's kind of a big blur. But at the end of this show, everybody leaves the stage except for me, and I'm just playing piano by myself, no click, no tracks, no nothing, just stalling while Austin talks to the crowd. And so during that moment, I'm just playing as long as he wants me to, basically. So it's very like loose, and everyone's off stage except me. So I'm playing and I'm looking around, and at this time it was dark and the whole loop was lit up, and I was just standing on the stage by myself, staring at the loop, playing piano, watching my face, hearing it. It just was like such a crazy moment. I just immediately started crying. And I saw.
Oh, I was about to ask you if you've ever cried when you perform.
Yes. I have cried tears of joy, happiness, and tears of sadness when things go wrong.
Oh my God.
But I definitely cried on stage, and I was like, I like wiped my face. That's one thing that sucks about being a keyboard player is your hands usually aren't free. So I was like, oh God, I'm gonna look insane.
I want to cry hearing the story. That's,
whoa. Yeah, it was very, very cool. And because I was in Germany, I only had to take an hour-long flight, so I wasn't even jet lagged. I was like, this is amazing.
Okay, if you could have told the girl, so I remember some of your stories about like you putting together your keyboard with like tape and how it used to like short out and all when you were performing and stuff like that. If you could have told that girl that she would be performing in front of 100,000 people or at the Louvre, could you have like even imagined it?
No, my dream was like, I thought I made it when we got asked to play the Viper Room and sell 40 tickets in order to do it.
Yes.
I was like, we made it. We made it. Oh my God.
The Viper. But to be fair, it's the Viper Room.
I know. And that's another thing. It was like when the sunset was kind of still popping, and this was in the, 2000? This was in the mid 2000s, like late 2000s. I was so new to LA. I don't think I was even 21 yet. And I think I remember having to wait outside with an X on my hand in order to play the Viper Room. And like my parents came up, like by then they were like, okay, we'll watch your cute little show until they realized it's actually going to be. But anyways, playing those shows was like, to me, that was making it. The Red Elvis's tour was making it. And
it's all making it.
I did. Yeah. And my path to get to where I am now was very gradual. It didn't happen. I wasn't like in a grungy band and then I get a phone call and then I'm like on $1 million bus. And that's with social media and the internet, that happens a lot more often now because you can just be like, oh, that person looks good. And then, it's really easy to find people that way. Back in the day, you had to really, really cut your teeth and play shows nonstop. I have no idea how many shows I played. I probably played in every single venue in this city. But to me, that's what I wanted to do. My brain couldn't even comprehend anything outside of LA.
Yeah. Do you care what kind of music you play? For you, is it just playing music?
That's a really great question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. I do care to an extent. There is a genre I'm not a fan of, that I've never been asked to play that genre of music before.
I was gonna guess.
It's country. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. Like I can play any style. But there are definitely styles that I enjoy more. I really, really love anything that's like heavy. Like in the Post Malone show was a very like rock show. We took all of his songs, including his hip hop stuff, his more pop stuff, and we really like just made it as metal as we could, basically. Yeah. He's like screaming and like we really made it a rock show. So that I would prefer over other styles of music. But I've also done like K-pop. Like I recently did K-pop at Coachella, and that was also really fun because my focus is making like a million different sounds to do this like really fun pop music. And I was playing a little bit less, but I had to do a lot more programming for that one. So a different part of my brain was exercising, and I love doing both. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm like, but yeah, those are the kinds of pop music, rock music. That's what I prefer. Yeah. Everything else, I'll do it. Absolutely. But it's not like it's not what I've done for the most part.
Is it possible to describe what it feels like standing in front of 100,000 people and having like positive energy being like thrown at you?
Sorry, the reason I'm laughing at this question is because I remember during the pandemic, a bunch of musicians we would all talk to each other about how hard it was to go from having 1,000 people screaming at you to like silence, because the pandemic stopped everything, and we're like, where do we get our validation from? So there's a lot of, it can get a little actually deep, but when you're up there, I mean, everyone's different. For me, it's like adrenaline. Like my adrenaline is so crazy. Like it doesn't matter what happened at that day. My brain, body, everything just locks in to show mode. And I don't know if anyone's noticed this. I don't really say this a lot, but every show ever done on an arena, in a stadium, unless it's on television because it would just look super weird, is right after we hit the last beat, I always take my in-ears out. And the reason why I do that is because I will hit the last beat and then I immediately take them out just because I want to hear the crowd. Because you can't hear the crowd on stage because you have in-ears in, and you can only hear what you're playing and what you choose to hear. That's a whole other side of the industry that, I actually can't hear the crowd when I'm on stage. So but I can feel it. And it's a really interesting experience to have that. But, it's just, you cannot help but feel this like rush of adrenaline when you're up there. But I don't know. It's such a hard thing to describe.
I can't imagine it can't be described. I've experienced being on stage with athletes in smaller productions. And I know sometimes trying to describe to people what happens in those moments is so individual and like singular. It's like, how do you describe your body vibrating?
Yeah, I don't really know how to do it. I feel super comfortable there. I know some people don't. I have friends and peers that have been doing it as long as me that still struggle with stage fright.
Some people who
struggle with so I'm not good at it, but being on stage and being a performer and putting on a show behind all these keyboards, that's like what I think I'm the best at as in a post.
You do not have to apologize for owning that. You do not have to apologize for being really good at what you do.
But I do know people who are incredible players that have had to overcome the fear of being on stage. I think maybe it might go back to your original, like a point that you made earlier, where being an athlete kind of comes to that. Like I'm used to, going head to head with people on the soccer field. I was a goalkeeper too. So I was used to just like getting down on the soccer field in front of a bunch of people when I would, games and stuff like that. So I kind of graduated up to the 100,000 people type show now, from soccer games, piano recital. I think we did the Cal State LA music talent show with my band at one point when we were like 18. Viper, you know what I mean? So I very gradually got there. So by the time I was up there at that level, it felt natural.
When did you
sound kind of dickish?
Not at all. No, I don't think it sounds dickish at all. I think it makes so much sense. When did you start getting tattoos associated with your tours? Because don't you do that?
Oh, I have a couple. I actually only have one that I think is like a straight up tour tattoo. And is kind of interesting because the artist actually tattooed me herself. So, and I played for a little over a year back in 2022. And at the end of, I think one of the tours we did, or the summer tour we did, our last show was in Irvine. And I don't know, her and I had just been talking about tattoos, and she was telling me about how she started doing it during the pandemic, and she had only tattooed one other person and she wanted to do it again. It's like, well, dude, you can tattoo me. I don't care. I clearly am like not precious with, skin as a canvas. So she was like, okay, cool. So after our show in Irvine, her team grabbed all of her tattoo gear. We walked off that stage. I don't even think I changed. I was still in my full stage makeup and everything. And there is a photo somewhere. And she tattooed the name of our tour was Love and Power. So she tattooed Love and Power in her hand. I asked for her to do it in her handwriting. I was like, I want you to do it in however you will.
That's really cool.
Really special to have the artist herself tattoo the name of the tour on me. And then my other one is this. It's an essay show and synthesizer. It's my first synthesizer I ever had. Post Malone's tattoo artist, Ollie, he was on tour with us to tattoo Post. And he not tattooing him one day. And he's like, hey, anyone wants to make
Wait a second. He gets tattooed so much that he had a tattoo artist come on tour with him?
We had multiple come in and out. Yeah.
How many tattoos did he get while he's on tour?
Oh, we'd be hanging out, and then sometimes we'll just be like, "Oh, where'd Austin go?" And then you just see, and he's just like, I'm not gonna lie, Ollie tattooed me like while I was starting my makeup for the show. He tattooed me right before a show. He put the stencil on, and I went and sound checked, and everyone was like, "What are you seriously getting tattooed between sound check and the start of the show?" I was like, I don't know. If he tattoos Post, he's probably really good. So, I mean, like, I'm trusting him. And he nailed it. He nailed it. He was he did such an incredible job.
That's crazy.
And he tattooed me in less than 2 hours. I think I started like doing my makeup while he was doing it, so I wasn't late. And he tattooed some other people in the band too. Yeah. It was a really cool vibe, and to have that access to that, just chilling backstage is kind of
You don't do your own hair and makeup?
I do. I braid my own hair. I do all my own makeup. That's a fun part about being a performer for me. I had no idea. Is that I get to have fun with that. It's kind of like touring in pop music, at least, like if you're a woman or but it's sometimes you get the opportunity to like experiment with fashion and experiment with your look, or sometimes you have a stylist that tells you everything that you have to wear. I've had makeup artists for shows, especially anything televised, and I had one for Coachella, I believe, as well. Yeah, to kind of have fun in that way too.
That is super surprising.
I'm literally braiding my hair right now. Sorry for anyone who's noticing the weird hair extensions in the back. I'm like in the middle of braiding my hair.
You're an artist. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. One more tour question, and then I want to ask other stuff. What's the craziest story? What's the craziest tour story that you are allowed to share?
Ooh, amazing. Great question, by the way. You're asking everything too good. But hold on. The craziest story I'm allowed to share. Is the kicker.
I figured.
I'm trying to think. I have one that's so incredibly embarrassing for me. And I think, okay, this is a Misbehaved Woman's podcast. So
yes.
It's a TMI. So I'm just warning anyone watching this. This is pretty gross. But it's the first thing that came into my mind. It's the single most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. And to me, crazy.
Okay,
so
go.
Really quickly. This is so gross. Like, I can't believe I'm about to say this. But we had a show in Australia one time. If anyone in my band is listening, they know exactly what I'm about to say. So we had a show in Australia one time, and we had been touring so much. We flew from LA to Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia to New Zealand. We were literally flying so much. It was crazy. And I really don't know how this happened, but of course, with my luck, I got a UTI while I was on the plane. Promise the story is so weird. And so when you're touring, and this is another thing a lot of people don't know, things happen medically, and and a lot of times you're in another country, and the health insurance is different, and seeing a doctor is a whole process, and you can't just like get a prescription unless you have a tour manager who very, very, very has been doing this for a very long time and understands how to do all that.
Thought about that.
Thank God we did. Yes, that's another thing people don't. Is you're on the road for a really long time and things happen. People get sick. People get UTIs, and people shit goes down. The only way to cure it is antibiotics. So I had to call. And another thing is, if you're getting a prescription, you're in a sit for only like a day. So it has to happen immediately. Kind of really difficult to handle those situations. Anyways, our tour manager, doctor calls me. I can't believe I'm telling this story. And he's like, okay, we got your prescription. It's at the pharmacy. Pharmacy's down the street from your hotel. Pick up for the show is like in 2 hours. So you have time to get down there, grab your prescription, go, and be good in a couple days. sounded just like the easiest, most convenient thing. Also, every woman that gets a UTI, you know how much that shit fucking
It's the worst.
It sucks. It's the worst, right? So I grab my sweatshirt, throw it on onto the pharmacy. I'm in line. It's Australia. I don't really care about. I have no shame. He's just like, okay, so I have and he tells me the medication, and he's like describing it in like vivid detail, asking like to a point where I'm like, bro, can you like lower your voice? Bring it here. Like, you're here. Can you
bring it down here?
Yeah. Like, and then he like asked me, had it like another infection, and I was like, no, I don't. But why are you asking me that? And also, can you keep your voice down? Of course, I hear, oh my God, are you Bonnie from the Post Malone band? Behind me, I had grabbed my Post Malone crew sweatshirt. I had my bright orange hair. I am a fucking idiot. I was like the single most recognized person because at the time I had neon braids. Yes. They were everywhere. And I had the blue Post Malone crew sweatshirt that everybody knew from that tour. There are two girls in line behind me that heard everything. And I just heard their voices, and I just went, I looked at that pharmacist, I was like,
he's all grabbing the microphone, like, Bonnie McInotsh.
Bonnie McInotsh, who has a current UTI. I'm just like, oh my God. So I turn around, and these girls are like, we're going to be at the show. I'm like, and the guy says something else to me while I'm kind of trying to be nice to these girls while also wanting to run head on into traffic. And then he starts talking, and I could tell that they were like, ooh, this is like the weirdest to like say hi to a musician you recognize. They kind of like get on their phones, and I like sprinted out of there so fast. I was also by myself. I wasn't with any of my bandmates. So like nobody, something super
and you're by yourself, and you're like,
I'm like, I need someone to laugh.
They might as well have peeked over like the bathroom stall and be like, Bonnie.
Yeah, are you okay? So, but here's the thing. It's like, that was so embarrassing, and especially because this tour was so huge, and I was like, what was I thinking? Like, that was like the dumbest thing I could have done. And so I get to the show, I get onto to go to the show, and my bandmates are like, are you okay? And I was like, I think when my bandmates asked me if I got the medication, I just looked like horrified. And so I told the band the story, and they were just like cry laughing. And to me, that was the craziest thing that happened to me. But there was a moment I was on stage doing the piano ballad, and my brain went,
where are those girls?
There at least two people. And then I was
plus like, okay, whoever they've told.
Friends. Whoever they told, exactly. So I was like, there's a possibility of a friend group, or it could have spread even more.
What if they tweeted
like 50 people? What if someone tweeted it? I was like, what if they tweeted it? And I was like I was playing the ballad, and I was literally thinking about this, and I was like, there are people that know that shit in my pants does not feel very good right now.
How weird is
I'm
that?
Playing this, and I was like, it was the weirdest thing. It was so like,
okay, but
I felt like I was in a Black Mirror episode.
That's probably the most people that have thought about your lady bits all at once at one time.
I hope so. I really hope so. I was like, oh my God. And then there was a moment where I was just like, are they watching me play knowing,
and like looking for a little shimmy or something if you're not?
Yeah. So like, she might really need to like itch her vagina and can't. And we're watching her on the big screen knowing this information. Seriously, every situation went through my head during those 2.5 minutes playing
I can't
that
even
song,
imagine.
and I just was like, it was so embarrassing. And then I obviously had to tell my band so we could all laugh about it afterwards. But that I think is my top, like, hilarious, most embarrassing thing that's
now all the Misbehaved Women podcast listeners, all 10 of us. Okay, so speaking of your lady bits, how do you manage dating and relationships being on tour so much?
It's tough, usually, in my experience. Just, being with people, because there's two people that are heavily affected by this lifestyle and this career. It's the partner who's at home.
Or do you usually date other musicians?
with you. My track record has usually been other musicians.
Yeah, because who are you meeting? That makes sense.
And to be honest, when you date somebody who understands your job and understands touring and understands the entertainment industry, it is so much easier because they get it. And then sometimes the way I try to look at dating, where I'm like, hey, this actually can be really fun because I get days off in really cool season like this, like float and like hang out, or like, hey, in between shows, let's go on a little vacay here. Like, I don't know, there's to kind of make it to where you can bring your partner, like, to break up like being away from them all the time. With FaceTime now, it's a lot easier, but it is harder to meet people. Like when you're home, I think it's harder to just adjust to like modern dating when you're either gone 24/7 for a certain amount of time and then you're home and then, you want to date.
LA is also a really hard place to date. I did not enjoy being single in Los Angeles. I used to tell all my girlfriends.
I'm single right now.
So I'm going to tell you what I tell all my girlfriends. Take notes, ladies in Los Angeles. Yeah. You have to import.
Yeah.
You have to go get dudes from other cities and import them.
I'm just like, round up the transplants.
No, it's not the transplants, because if they're transplants, they're there for a reason, and they've got their agenda. And you know how dating in LA is. This, what can you do for me? And who do you know? And how can we, is this a good collaboration or whatever? No, you have to import from another city, from somebody not in the entertainment industry.
I have a couple of dating horror stories.
Best redacted story that you can tell publicly.
Best redacted story I can tell publicly. Okay, wait. I don't know if I can tell that one. Hold on. I'm like, I have ones that I'm like, I have to.
Yes. You have to protect the innocent or the not innocent, actually.
I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of their fans. That's what I'm afraid of.
Fair.
I'm like, okay. Okay, wait, hold on. There's a story I want to tell, but let me think. Oh, I have a really crazy story. This is actually really kind of cool because I guess this is like a day that I had very early on in being in the world. Because also to kind of backtrack, I was in Black Party politics and like, all of these shows. And then when I got the Selena Gomez gig, that was my first like pop show.
Huge.
So that world, it was huge. It was 2014, 2015, I believe. She was at the height of her musical fame. Obviously, she's still a house of just human being. Oh my God, I absolutely adore her. And so we had so much fun during the promo of her album because we were doing we were doing all the late night shows. We were we were also doing Jingle Ball, which was at Madison Square Garden. We did lots of TV, lots of just the promotion of her album, which is part of like the process. Sometimes you get hired just for her. Sometimes you do I got hired to do everything with her, which was really cool. So I got to do the promotional and the tour. And so what for me, like my career highlight, was when we did Saturday Night Live. Because we performed on Saturday Night Live. It was the craziest week ever. I grew up watching that show since I was a child with my mom, and that my biggest dream was to be on that stage, like at the end, and like they have the credits, right? And so I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. My dream is to be there. And so we got booked to do Saturday Night Live. When we got booked to do it, I was like screaming. I called my mom. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be on SNL. It's crazy. And it was everything I dreamed of and more. Yeah. It was the greatest experience, just like going through the process, watching them build the sets, watching everything kind of happen. And then on the day of the show, our show almost wasn't going to happen because there was a blizzard happened overnight before Friday night. The blizzard was so bad that we were not, they were closing all the streets in New York City. So we weren't going to be able to get to the studio. So they were going to cancel the show unless they got everybody in the build by like 11 a.m. And for context, it filmed 11 p.m. So that's a long time to do.
Yeah.
So basically, band, obviously Selena and her team, dancers, the SNL cast, and even some of their guest stars were there. I saw Tina Fey was practicing Sarah Palin in her PJs walking around. So what was probably the most inconvenient day for everybody that does the show, for us, it was like the coolest thing ever because it was like we were on a playground. Yeah. Like we were at 30 Rock. You can go to all the different, like, and they're rehearsing and practicing. I ran into Martin Short in the bathroom because I went into the wrong bathroom and literally walked into him because he comes up to here on me. Like, it was just so crazy. It was so incredibly surreal. And while we were, when you perform on SNL, lines, or the audience isn't in front of you. They're building the next set for the next thing. You just have the camera and the audience is over here. And once they close the door, because it's live, nobody can leave. And while I was on stage about to start, while they're like changing everything, I see Tina Fey sprint and didn't make it by the time the doors closed. So our first song we played in front of the crew building the set, and a poor Tina Fey just, God damn it, the store won't open. Just so impatient because she was probably doing a million things. And I was just like, oh my God.
Wasn't she one of the writers at that time?
She wasn't even, no, she had already been on the show. She was there just to do Sarah Palin. It was 20, she came back to do her Sarah Palin impression. And seeing her was
holy shit, what is your
crazy life? It was weird. Daryl Hammond was in his Trump character, which was like terrifying. Also, the SNL took Sharpie and went haywire on Trump's portrait because the hosts all have portraits in their thing, and he had hosted before, and his thing
deserves it.
But yeah. So anyway, so that was a really cool experience. At the very end of the show, the artist and host, usually go say hi, and randomly we're just standing out there, and they many times usually don't bring at all, and some reason Selena grabbed my hand. She's like, let's go. And I was like, what? And I was so caught off guard. So we all got to go. She was holding on to my arm, just like literally kind of placed me behind her. So it's like Ronda Rousey, our host, Selena, and me. Just
that's like okay. So Ronda was the host, and then Selena was the musical act.
Yeah, Selena was a musical act, and I was playing keys for her. But when she went up to say, it's called Nights, but she went to do it, we were all walking up as a band. I was about to go to the back, and it's happening so fast. I was obviously not mad.
Sure.
Right? It was so cool. But yeah, she just grabbed my arm, and she was like, just stand here. And I was like, I'm like so much taller than her. So I was like this. And so because I could see myself on the monitor and I saw how in frame I was, I just jumped up and went, hi, Mom. As soon as they were talking, I didn't give a fuck. I was like, you know what? When am I ever going to have this opportunity again? And so my mom was watching it back home and saw it live and called me while I was still on the stage, but the cameras were off, and I got to talk to her while I was still up there, and it was just like a cry fest. So that's like my favorite, like, crazy story to tell, because even when I say it, I still can't believe it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you've already done so much, and you've toured with so many people. Who would be your dream? I have 2 questions. 3. Mm-hmm. Who would be your dream tour to go on tour with?
Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga. I am obsessed with her. I love her show. I think I have a good actually in her band. I just think, I would love to do it. But she's had her band since like 2000. I think most of her band has been with for like 15 years.
That's so cool.
That's definitely not a job opening up anytime soon. And so Lady Gaga would be my dream, and then it'd be her and Beyonce as well.
Yeah.
But
and doesn't Beyonce only travel with female artists?
Not anymore. Oh, okay. Not her keyboard player that she has is a dude. He's absolutely incredible. Her team, that is a huge production. But I really like playing high production shows. It can be kind of a pain sometimes just because there's so many moves and so many things can go wrong on stage, as now people are starting to see on like the internet and stuff. The stage mishaps people are like seeing them. They happen all the time. But
the show must go on.
Interesting, but show must go on. And
so what is the legacy that you want to leave, and what's your mission?
My mission is to make this job easier for the generation after me.
That's beautiful.
Because I think that there's such a learning curve to this job, and there's very few ways to learn rather than do it. And unfortunately, in the touring industry, especially if you're working with really public people and celebrities, if you make a mistake, you could lose your job and not even know what you did. So it makes it kind of hard to, like, you don't really have that kind of grace in this industry like you would in maybe. So I think that people understanding what touring entails is something really important. And I also want to make it, women are treated much differently on tour. It is what it doesn't matter how progressive the artist is, how progressive the team is. It's so ingrained into our society where we get offered less money. We get offered less everything. If there's an all-female band, a lot of times we get paid less than there would be an all-male band. So one thing that I've been doing really heavily in my career, and anyone who's worked with me, like, it's no secret that I'm never afraid to speak up. And that has absolutely gotten me in trouble before. I'm always willing to take one for, in order to advocate for better conditions for just various things. Like, I had something traumatic happen and I was like, I need to talk to a therapist. We need to be provided with this. And luckily I was on a tour with a high enough budget where they were able to do that. And the tour manager was a woman and she was fantastic. She was like, I'll make it work. And she did. And I had the tour paid for me to have therapy.
Wow.
And that was because I stood up for myself and I voiced it. And I was like, this needs to happen. No exceptions. I'm 38 now. So I've been doing this a long time where I'm not afraid to get in trouble. That those people don't scare me like they did when I was in my 20s. But I know that the younger people on tour at this time, I'm usually the oldest one, and which I love. I went from being the baby to now being the mom. I feel like that holds a weight of responsibility for all of us, especially the women who are the vets, like, we've been doing this for a long time, is to kind of show these younger kids what they're worth. Some of them don't even know, like, how much money to ask for. Sometimes they'll take things that should not be done. And I know women my age who have been doing this for a long time, we all know each other, we're all friends, we all talk, and really, really make sure that we speak up for the people that might be too afraid to. And some of my little sisters and brothers that I've toured with who are in their 20s and who had to kind of be like, hey, don't do that. You're going to get in trouble. Don't do that. You'll get in trouble. Make sure you do this. Yeah. I think that for anybody who's been doing this for a long time and you do have someone on the road, and, especially the women, because we are treated much, much differently in this industry, it is getting absolutely, but it needs to improve a little bit more. And I think that's, if anything happens, if I get struck by lightning tomorrow, I just hope there's at least a couple girls who want to do this as a job, who know a little bit more, because I've been able to give them that information. I would be very, very happy with that being what I want to leave.
Will you come back on the podcast again and tell me more stories?
Absolutely. I have stories for days. You know what? I'll go through, like, my social media and my tour, and, like, I'm sure there's stuff that I'm just, like, forgetting. But yeah. And then next time I would love to bring my best friend Kayla.
Bring your hype woman.
She has she has stories as well. She does exactly what I do.
Amazing.
So she's a vocalist, background singer, and artist herself. So I think that would be really, really great. And I absolutely love talking to you.
Thank you so much for taking the time for me today. I love watching your success. It's been so much fun watching you all these years. I'm a huge fan, and just know that I'm always rooting for you, and I'm so excited that you're doing so well.
Think you so much, Donna. It was so great to see you, and I so much appreciate all the great questions.
Thank you.
Like, that was really, I was like, damn, I have to actually really think about this. But but thank you so much, and I will talk to you again very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.